let's get into this. Also, please let me know if you're able to, read the words on the screen. Okay. So, this is the Resurrection Canon. As you can see, they have quite a few stories actually going on in this. Written by some of the very well-known writers of the whole SCP franchise. Is that a word? This community would be better. So, first off, let's get a brief overview of this. Uh, 9 years ago, the SCP Foundation was a very different place. Supported by the United States Bowie Commission, the focus was on research and development. Cross-testing and weaponization of SCP objects was common. Mobile Task Force Omega-7, Pandora's Box, utilized SCP-076 and SCP-105 to carry out their missions. Senior staff members were given extreme freedom and autonomy, ignoring all rules of propriety and professionalism, so long as they got the job done. All of this was endorsed by O5 Command, the High Court with their magic army. This era is both very good and very bad for the Foundation. But it ended, and it ended badly. There were many incidents that catalyzed the end of the Pandora's Box era. Kondraki's destruction of Site-19, Incident Zero. The end came when Abel slaughtered the rest of Omega-7. O5 Command realized they were losing control and cracked down. The old project shuttered. Senior staff were kicked upstairs into administrative roles, and in one famous case, assassination. Research and development of anomalous technology ceased as the Foundation focused on mere collection and containment. 9 years passed and we reached the present day. The pace of anomalous incidents is accelerating. Thousands of SCPs have been discovered in only the last 2 years. New GOIs are forming and being discovered every day. The Foundation can't keep up. O5 Command is becoming desperate. They wish to once again tilt the scales in their favor. They are reopening research into SCPs outside of containment purposes. They are re-implementing cross-testing and weaponization, endorsing in-house scientific journals, creating an entirely new class of SCPs, Thaumiel, specifically to contain others, reopening old case files from the Bowie era, looking for old swords to resharpen for the new battles to come. They privately call this Project Resurrection. One of these old swords is Project Pandora's Box, Mobile Task Force Omega-7, now known as Alpha-9, Last Hope. Not everyone is happy about this. They remember the bad old days. They worry this is going to be the end of the Foundation. They may be right. Project Resurrection is a writing project aimed at reconstructing and resurrecting the original central storyline of the SCP Foundation. It aims aims at synthesizing the old and new works of the SCP Foundation. It starts with Alpha 9, the Omega 7 reboot. It doesn't end there. Well, now you know what this canon is all about. And we're going to start from the very top, the beginning. Part 0, before Alpha 9, in which the past informs the present. Yesterday. Recent story made in 11/17/19. By the Deadly Moose. Dr. Clef kills the SCP universe. Yesterday. 3/1/2020. The world was burning. Otto Clef watched the fires from the relative safety of Site 67. Black and green fire. Some kind of odd chemical reaction from 13 breached SCPs. The fires cover the Midwestern United States already. More outbreaks in Russia and the Russian tundra. In a few African cities and the Atacama Desert. Some sort of shitty anomalous chain reaction. Yet Foundation contingency plans were working, remarkably. Most of the news reports had been suppressed. A few towns had been gassed with anesthetics. Full containment was anticipated within 48 hours. Clef had heard Overwatch was suddenly pouring research into repairing SCP-2000. He didn't expect that to work. He'd been spearheading the effort to fix 2000 for over a decade already. Still, the fact they were trying. His new assistant buzzed him. 0512 has arrived to see you, she said. Clef missed at him. Little had been the same after his death, since the failure of Alpha 9 years back. The people were assigned to him, he couldn't hold a candle to her. Tell him to fuck off, Cliff said. Sending him in now, his assistant replied. Okay, maybe she was a little bit like Adams. Clef waited, watching the fires burn. Some part of him wanted to go out there, finding out the truth, doing something about this. But for better or worse, that some part had mostly been beaten into submission. 12 entered, uncharacteristically alone. Clef didn't bother turning around to greet him. So what the hell do you want? Is this how you talk to all the 05s? 12 didn't sound like 12. Clef turned around, his eyes narrowing in recognition. You. Ha, 12 said. I told them you'd recognize me. No one ever listened to me, though especially not since my promotion. Uh-huh, Clef said. Wish I could say it was good to see you. It wasn't. I won't waste your time, 12 said. The Council's calling in its last favor. Clef stared at him. It was surprising. To his surprise, he was surprised to his surprise. What? Seriously? After this, if you want, you're out. That was the deal. 12 leaned forward, taking a piece of paper from his pocket. He offered it to Clef. 12 handed him a piece of paper. Clef read it. It was a list of names, handwritten. His gut twisted. Or at least he liked to think that it did. Like hell I'm gonna do this, he said. Of course you are. Can't bullshit me, Clef. You know I hate to do this to you. You know I wouldn't ask you if it didn't have to be done. Fuck you, you can't bullshit me either, 12. Clef sneered through the word. You bastards wouldn't be doing this if it weren't The capital E endgame. He didn't tell me, so don't tell me I get out of this. There's not gonna be a place for me to get out to after this is done. Cleft waved the piece of paper back and forth. This is a laundry list of key Foundation personnel. You don't kill them all and still have a Foundation. You don't know what that means. No O5s on there, 12 said. Not most of them, anyway. Fuck the O5s, Clef said, and fuck you. 12 laughed at a mirthless laugh. Clef looked at the list again, taking in all the names. He paused towards the bottom. Your people fucked up here. Kadraki's been dead for a decade. Gears shot him in the head. 12 just smiled. Fuck. The first target was Dr. Andrews Drubert Bjornsson, a specialist in anomalous psychologies and societal anomalies. His high security clearance, but hadn't done much with it besides work on a lot of less well-known SCPs. Bjornsson was extremely normal for a highly ranked Foundation researcher. Well-liked, professional, stable. Hell, maybe that alone qualified him for assassination. Clef found himself unwillingly wondering why Overwatch wanted him to do this. Not the assassinations, but these particular assassinations. This list was mostly high-ranking researchers, those far from everyone relevant. Clearly, the list had been curated. Why? How? Why put someone like Bjornsson on it? He did have a penchant for appalling sweater vests. That morning, Bjornsson was found dead on the floor of his apartment bedroom in 19's housing complex. He died peacefully of carbon monoxide poisoning, but his bedroom walls were splattered with fake blood. His sweater vests were hung in the room around him, accusingly. Hideous Christmas designs. Eyeballs scattering fluorescence. Terrible paisley patterns galore. A note. You've pushed us too far, Bjornsson. This is a warning to all the Foundation's criminals. Repent or face the same fate. The next was Dr. Carl Actis. He'd known Actis a long time, from a distance. Actis was a famous/infamous for his loyalty to Overwatch. Not loyal enough to get off the list, apparently. Clef decided he needed to be more subtle with this. The pattern was going to form fairly quickly. All these deaths of high clearance Foundation personnel. No reason to give the game away that early. Thankfully, the solution was simple. Actis had already been dying of leukemia for years. The 5 Command had been providing him with meds, though they refused to give him anything too good. They could have offed Actis at any point themselves. Since they assigned it to Cleft, he was simple enough to silently adjust the scheduled treatment dosage, cover it up with some standard paperwork, and move on to the next target. Dr. Actis was dead by evening. After that, Dr. Kate Tiris. No stranger to controversy, which Clef respected. She'd lobbied hard for the expansion of the Foundation's technical journals. Back in the day, used to a certain level of rigor and standardization. From her days as a UIU press coordinator. To keep the smoke screen phase, Clef kept it simple. He poisoned her coffee and forged notes from her old friends in the UIU that wouldn't make sense to investigators. But that was the point. Clef moved quick. He had to keep up this angel of death bullshit long enough to get through the list. Not quick enough to be sloppy, but close. Ralph Roggett was killed in a containment breach, chalked up to his own incompetence. Zen Kiryu died to her own butterflies when her expertly constructed control mechanisms failed simultaneously. Avery Solis, swallowed by a shadow. Rose LaBelle, a tragic programming accident. Quick Groove, Haley Fox, a tragic paperwork accident. Maria Jones drank herself to death. Django Bridge died of loneliness. Or at least that's the best anyone could figure out. Check, 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 check. More deaths after those, and more. Some tiny part of Cleft felt ashamed that it was so easy. He had been preparing for something like this for the most of his life. Chelsea, Elliot. Botanical treatments poisoned, consumed by the tiny sun inside her. Simon Glass, outline agent who claimed to be fine until he wasn't. Everett Mann talked into killing his own fool self by allowing him to carry out one of his especially stupid mad science projects. A decommissioning, technically. Trivial, without lament around anymore. Even Jack Bright went down surprisingly easy. His amulet launched right into the sun. Clef found himself hoping that the man would finally rest, then realized that he was rationalizing his actions, trying to mentally comfort himself for what he was doing. Fuck, he was going soft. He'd killed people before, even friends, when it became necessary. This was the same thing, just on a larger scale, right? Clef looked at the shortened list, reading the next name, grimacing. Clef. Clef found Gears sitting placidly in his director's office. There was a gun on the desk next to him. Clef hesitated. Hello, Doctor, Gears said. I received a communique from 051 this morning. Gears, Clef said. Gears held up a hand. There's no need to explain. I've been briefed on your mission, and I understand it's necessary. I realize that you are here to carry out my scheduled execution. My affairs are in order. I have done the same for Dr. Krill. I would have carried out the deed myself, but I was informed the process needed to be execution, either directly or indirectly by you. Clef tried to say something, but the words didn't come out. Gears took this as an indication to continue. Additionally, I have created a video message explaining that I am part of a suicide pact involving one or more other SIM Foundation members. This should help temporarily disguise the nature of the assassinations you are presently carrying out. If my account is believed, suspicion will not fall on you for any extended period of time. Gears opened his desk and took out a sealed package. I also understand that you will require assistance with one of your final targets. This package contains the coordinates for the current location of Dr. Kondraki. Clef took a long time to reach out and take the package. I do have a final request, Kier said, and pressed a vial to Clef's hand. For Kane. He's wished me to tell you this I'll tell you that this is a concoction of his own design, or to bring him a happy death. He picked up an envelope. He left a message for you to say goodbye. I don't understand. I've already put him into a coma, Gear said. He requested. He didn't want you to have to see him when you did this. His body is in a closed canon with an IV hookup. You need only insert this into the IV. Jesus Christ, Gears. Kane requested that I do something similar to alleviate the emotional effects on you, but I judged that this would arouse more immediate suspicion. It would counter my attempt to buy you more time. I apologize if this causes you more difficulty. Clef read Kane's message. He resisted wiping his eyes. Gears' gaze remained unmoving as always. Goodbye, Gears, Clef said. You were the best of us. See you on the other side. Goodbye, Doctor, Gears said. It has been a pleasure. And even though there was no change of expression, inflection or tone, Clef found himself desperately hoping Gears was being honest and genuine when he spoke. A pleasure. Clef raised the gun. Kane's death was quiet, peaceful, Clef told himself. Just the way he'd always wanted to go. It didn't make a difference. After Kane, researcher Blair Roth was next on the list. Clef read her name and felt like a dick. He knew Roth. He'd gone to her quite a few times for help. She ran a lot of teams and had a high clearance level to match. She was officially just a Foundation veterinarian, but she also worked extensively with disinformation. Like most people who wrote death certificates, the kind of researcher who constantly got work piled on her, with none of the recognition. Though being on the O5's hit list had been more recognition than most people. The way to kill her was obvious. He felt terrible, but he did it. He set up Kane's death to look like Roth accidentally switched medicine doses. She had already emotionally compromised from the news of the other deaths. It was a believable mistake. She hung herself in her bedroom. From one of the ceiling fans, they still had some of the older housing. Complexes. There was a note. Clef made the note good. It was the least he could do. The list had gone from arm to wrist, and the list had gone from arm to length. Arm to wrist in length. Only a few names left. And next was the disgraced director of Site 19. Tilda David Mose. The ex-Serpent's Hand Witch. Clef had never cared for Moose. Not really. The people who screamed that she should still be contained with the rest of her kind had been quietly cowed and silenced by now. Mostly. Clef had his own misgivings about her. Not because of her being a type blue, but because of the fundamental personality flaws that she married with being a type blue. Still, in the end, he had come on the side of apathy. It would have been a fruitless fight. The one who got to make that kind of decision had made it before Clef had known it was happening. Besides, Clef was supposed to be the arrogant one. Clef had arrived at Site 19. He found Director Moose barricaded inside the control center, her face plastered on a security monitor outside, waiting and watching. Clef didn't speak. He knew the signs would annoy her into action first. Moose was impatient. Drank the new wines instead of waiting for them to mature. Metaphorically, he'd never seen her drink, too paranoid. In that particularly self-centered way he saw in certain directors. And no amount of careful organized planning would prevent someone impatient from acting prematurely. He hoped. Silence won in less than 15 seconds. I know why you're here, Moose said. Sure you do, Clef said. Her smile was forced. The world's ending. Clef shrugged. Yeah, kinda figured. Moose's eyes shifted. I still have friends in high places. Clef didn't respond to ask who, or why, or where. He just waited for the trap to be sprung. There had to be a trap. This was too elaborate. You left quite a trail of bodies on the way here, Moose continued. Am I next on your list? After Gear, Kane, and Roth, Clef didn't feel like playing on the expected game. I deny everything, but let's say you're right. How do you plan on stopping me? You're a rusty type blue, and I've bagged over 3 dozen greens. Greens are always overconfident, Moose said. Clef smirked. The first time he'd flexed those muscles in days. It felt strange on his face. I've read your file. You're one to talk. Honestly, he hadn't been sure until he'd seen the screen sit up. It wasn't just about Moose being able to see him. She wanted to make sure that he could see her. It was a kind of Blofeld-ian bullshit that only someone that overconfident would have arranged. Maybe, but I know your history. I've examined every line of your files, and Dimitri told me all about you before you murdered him. Hearing Dimitri's name from her voice was a sucker punch. Hey, fuck you. Strelnikov was my friend, and more importantly, I had nothing to do with that. That's what they say about Kondraki? No, they say Kondraki killed himself. And I didn't do that one either. Gears did. They gave me that story too. The story about Strelnikov's death did sound like a cover-up, admittedly. A generic routine security breach. A firefight with guards. Strelnikov caught a stray bullet and died. A few days later, a tragedy easily avoidable. But it was the truth. The shitty, disappointing truth. If Moose blamed him for this, Clef considered that another person did too. The thought didn't make him particularly happy, and it shouldn't matter, given what he was doing now, but it did. However, Clef said, he was going bored with waiting, which meant that Moose might have been more patient than he'd given her credit for. If Dimitri told you so much, you should have wasted my time. You should know wasting my time never helps. Are you coming out here, or am I blasting my way in? Moose seemed to think about this. You know, back when I was in the hand, some of you had these little nicknames. Dr. Blank, Rover. You can probably guess those. Did you ever overhear yours? Clef yawned. Moose didn't stop. They used to call you God Killer. Her upper lip curled a little. So, God Killer, let's see how you deal with the hand called the God's Labyrinth. The security monitor blinked out. The doors to the control center opened. Clef cursed as he saw the blankness beyond it, reaching out. He fell back, turning to hit the emergency locks to keep it, whatever it was, from spreading. No stars in the black meant it wasn't space, and the fact that it seemed to be moving meant it was either alive or near enough. The fact that it seemed to be reaching out meant that he was probably going to be suggested, but Moose had named it, which gave him a tiny splinter of confidence. Clef breathed deep several times, oxygenating his blood in case there wasn't air. Then dived through the opening. Better to get it over with after all. Instantly, he was assaulted by the forced perception of extra dimensions. It was nowhere and everywhere at the same time. He was nowhere and everywhere, at one with space and time, and yet apart and separate. A god and a speck of dust. The same old bullshit Dickens used to beat off to. His old implants flared to life and told him he'd been transported somewhere else. They'd been less helpful before, but not often. The blankness slowly parted as he began to perceive again properly. Stone walls stretched out before him, turning to impossible angles that he didn't stare at, moving eternally towards one of the several distant horizons that surrounded him. Every time he looked away from one path to another, his perception shifted, and the paths completely reconfigured themselves. Clef sighed. This is going to be irritating. He mentally tugged. He felt the strain of his ancient implants, some unused for decades, and Moose stared at the Site 19 special security monitor. No, she said. Her voice rose in octave. No! Her guard stepped closer. Ma'am? It's nothing. Just... She looked down at the ruins written in the polish of her nails. Things are about to get difficult. Why? That son of a bitch has got a third eye. It took Clef 30 minutes to emerge from the labyrinth, and another hour to carve his way through the control center's defenses. It was all standard, unmodified, and ill-equipped to stop someone who'd had a hand in designing them. He shot the last guard, sighed, and stepped through the doors into the observation center. Moose was waiting for him, looking dramatic. Always dramatic. Everything a trial. An ultimate final confrontation. Why so much stress? It was just murder after all. Clef took a moment to reload his gun while she stood there, glancing up at her expression. She was smiling, without feeling behind it. You look like Lament, Clef said. The smile faded. Thanks. Not a compliment. Clef paused, spun the cylinder as he finished reloading. There. Dramatic, just for her. He asked the question he knew she wanted. Why aren't you running? It's nothing. Momentarily, she looked genuinely disturbed. I got the report. Just now. About Gears. Clef said moused. A Foundation suicide pact? That's not really your style. But it was you. I know it was you. She waited for a confirmation that never came. If you can get Gears, you can get me. I could fight, and I could hurt you, but I'd lose. I'd rather ask you a question instead. No promises, Clef said. Why are you doing this? Clef chuckled bitterly. Didn't he tell you? Didn't you tell me? Clef didn't answer. Well, she said, I guess I'm even better at alienating people than I thought. Clef shrugged. Any last words? Those are kind of subpar. Moose inclined her head, managing to put on a haughty face for the moment. Whatever your reasons, you'll live to regret this. No offense, Clef said, feeling the exhaustion of the moment finally weighing on him. But I had to kill all my surviving friends today. You? I'd forget about killing you before dinner. She actually looked hurt by that. Jesus, some people. Clef raised his gun and shot Moose in the head. He didn't even pretend to be surprised when the illusion dissipated. He holstered his gun, then tugged the list out of his pocket, glancing around the control room for a pen. Sergeant 18 always had the best pens. Outside Site 18, Moose slid into an ancient, unwashed Honda. Her fingernails were burned through, the flesh beneath them blistered and aching. But that would fade. She was confident that she hadn't been followed, but she checked the magical tripwire anyway, just in case. Nothing. No traces of magic besides hers from in the past 3 weeks, minimum. Moose let herself breathe. It wasn't easy to outsmart Alto Clef, but it was something possible. She remembered about how this all turned out the last few years. Things didn't have to go this way. Things weren't supposed to go this way. Somewhere along the line, she'd fucked up. They'd all fucked up. Slowly, silently, irrefutably. No point dwelling. Time to drive off into the sunset. Make a last-ditch attempt to stop the oncoming end of the world, and fix this before the council had Clef break it irrevocably. This is why she joined the Foundation, and she'd be damned if restoring ended like this. She raised her hand, lowered the sun visor, and grabbed the spare key. Then started the engine. The car was engulfed instantly in a ball of fire and flame. After that, it was simple enough for Clef to follow the coordinates skiers had given him for Kondraki. The area is way out of the middle of nowhere, way off the grid, like he'd expected. Cliff made his way through the perimeter in the wee hours of the night. Kondraki had been here for years. He had had time to make up some pretty complex traps. By the time Cliff had finished, the world was awash in pre-dawn light. The reality cracks were still there, but they seemed more subtle. Flashes in the sky, far away, nothing close. The sky was cleared of clouds. The world seemed to be holding its breath. There was a clearing in the trees. In the middle of the clearing, a shack. There was no easy approach, so Clef sighed, hefted his shotgun, and stepped out from the trees. Music blasted across the clearing. You're walking in the woods, the voice sang. There's no one around, and your phone is dead. Out in the corner of the eyes, you spot him. And it whispered, Troy Lament. The voice was Kondraki's. Clef stood still in disbelief. The music continued. He's following you. about 30 feet back. He's getting down on all fours, breaking his bit. He's getting on you, Troy lament. Clef tried to ignore the music to take in the situation. No good entry or exit positions from the back of the shack. There wasn't like Con, an underground rock bunker. He is almost upon you now, and you can see there's blood on his face. My God, there's blood everywhere. Clef circled the shack cautiously, shotgun ready. He was surprised to realize that it felt a little ill. Running for your life from Troy Lament. He's brandishing a knife, it's Troy Lament. Looking in the shadows. Special Agent Superstar Troy Lament. Living in the woods, Troy Lament. Killing for sport, Troy Lament. Containing all the bodies. Actual cannibal, Troy Lament. Clef rounded the shack to see the front door, hanging wide open. Oh. Kentucky wasn't here. He'd been forewarned too. The shack was abandoned except for the radio set in the middle of the table inside, blaring the music, Kentucky's recorded voice. Tell me about this family, Troy lamented. Doesn't know his real name, Troy lamented. Should have shot himself like iceberg. Does the job too well, Troy lamented. Fetish for containment. Reaching the top director. Then Clef noticed the shadow twitch. He sighed and stepped into the shack. The shadow moved quick, and Kutraki stepped into the light in one smooth motion. He ripped the shotgun from Clef's hand. Sit the fuck down, Kutraki yelled. And then immediately, you're not Lament. Nope, Kutraki said dryly. Kutraki reached over and switched off the music. They sent you? Didn't think they'd have the balls. Figured it would be Lament. Ben's agent they actually consider expendable. Clef shrugged. You're looking well, Con. Keep it healthy, Kudraki said. Hunt and gather. Short workout regimen. He patted his stomach, important for living on the run. Gotta stay healthy. Always. Frowned. You let me take your gun. You were dead. Kudraki found himself strangely shook up. Gears shot you in the head. Gears. He never makes an error. I was at your goddamn funeral. I saw the body. I filled your goddamn corpse full of lead, Con. I hear, Kudraki said. Hear tell you missed most of these shots too. Just like you. You're changing the subject. Don't know what you're... No, Kudraki said. I know you. I know you. You'd never have fallen for a trick like that. Not in a million years. And you think Lament would have? Of course. Of course he would have. He would have said me to be stupid. Reverse psychology, you know. It works every time. So you're planning to out-stupid Lament? Yeah, Kudraki didn't seem to think there was anything odd about that sentence. But you couldn't outstupid me, okay? Why'd you let me take your gun? I didn't let you, Clef said. Just getting rusty in my old age. You see it all, Clef. Everyone knows that. Like it's a story from a book. Kudraki nodded. Yeah, that's right. You know what I'm talking about. Your real secret. You told me yourself. All but told me yourself anyway. Can't believe I thought you were the devil. You never aimed that low. Clef shrugged and waited. You won't tell me anything. Fine. Kudraki motioned with a shotgun to the chair at the table. At least sit down for a bit before I kill you. Clef sat. Kudraki said. You have a good singing voice, Clef said. That song, though. Rob Cantor, Kudraki said. Internet me. Man, the man would have gotten it. And you both bothered to record all that, the music too. I had time to prepare, Kudraki said. Was going to Lynette for information. Thought it would be good to throw him off first. Then I'd hog tie him and leave him here. Or maybe blow the whole goddamn shack up with him in it. Hadn't decided yet. Who told you? You hadn't told me, Jack, and you expect me to spill my guts. That ain't how this works, Clef. You know that. But you did have warning, Clef said. Jesus, the Foundation's leaking like a sieve these days. It's the end of the goddamn world, Clef. They didn't tell you? Kentucky laughed. You didn't figure it out from all those terrorist realities? How do you suppose the Foundation's gonna fix those, eh? If they could. They'd have done it by now. Nah. This is the end. For the Foundation, too. We've come back from worse, Cliff said. Not this time. Kentucky leaned forward. Everything falls apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy loosed upon the world. You know how it goes. Never took you for a Yeats fan. Who the fuck's a Yeats? We didn't wait for an answer. This is the end game, Cliff. That's why they decided I had to go. Even if they don't get me, though, makes no difference. End of the road means the end of all of us. You and I, we're just looking to see who's going first. I assume that's me. Maybe. You know I wasn't gonna let that bastard Lament kill me, but you? This is how it should be. This is how it should properly end. The two of us together. Kentucky glanced outside. Pistols at dawn. Well, my pistol and your shotgun. You could have hit the broadside of the barn with the pistol. What'd you say? Make one of us walk away? Maybe neither of us walk away. Kentucky stood up. He waved Cleft away from the table. They walked outside. The two men watched the sky in silence for a few minutes. The strange lightning flickering. Still far away, but closer now. A flare of light beating over the horizon. Sun's rising, Clef. Kentucky said. How about it? That. It's like it was meant to be. Kentucky took out a pistol out of his coat pocket and handed Clef back the shotgun. Clef pulled the trigger as soon as his finger touched it, blasting Kentucky square in the chest. Kentucky flew backwards like a rag doll, his pistol going flying. He didn't move. He walked over to the body, looked down, raised the shotgun again, then lowered it. You should have put a bullet through my skull, Con. Why couldn't you just... The body twitched, Kentucky moved, crookedly. Always knew. Kentucky seemed to struggle to find the words. But the next few came out easily enough. Who cared? Clef crouched next to the dying man. He kept hold of the shotgun. He was sympathetic, not stupid. What they made us, Kentucky said. We could have been more. We could have had real lives. We could have been people. But no, they ruined us. They made us legends. Then tossed us aside once they didn't fucking need us anymore. You know what they made us do? What they're making you do now. Blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. Clef waited. Kentucky half-gripped. I care too, Clef. I always cared. So there's one last thing you should know before I die. Kentucky stared up at the sky. The lightning playing out and dancing around a crack in reality. Reflecting purple and green in his eyes as they lost focus. And he was gone. Clef waited a long time after. Me too, Con, Clef said. There was gasoline in the shack. This time, he burned the body. The world was truly ending. On the long drive to SCP-2000, even Clef's implant couldn't process half of what he was seeing. If it weren't for the reality anchors built into the rattling truck, Clef was sure he wouldn't have made it more than 10 miles. As it was, he was less than a mile short of the complex when he saw something going on inside the truck itself. Probably the concept of combustion breaking down, or changing it to something else. It gave him a headache, and he got out of the truck to walk instead. Through his third eye, Cliff saw a nameless string straddling parallel to the horizon. Coming, he was sickened by a deep sense of deja vu, or Veku. One of those. He'd said this before. This is all happening again. Cliff didn't know where the thing was coming from. Was it some echo, preserved by its ever-unreliable protection from reality shifting? Was it simply grim imagination? A thought from the dying universe itself? All equally likely at a time like this. A god with no name. No, not a god. Nothing so directly comprehensible. But what do you call such a thing if not a god? Clef shook his head, trying to jostle the words out of his head. Best not to dwell on such thoughts. On thoughts that may or may not be your own. Been thoughts. Been through the desert on a god with no name. Fuck. He shook his head again, fighting to clear it, and shut down one of his perception filters to do it. Then he started walking. Within 100 yards, things started to feel real again. SCP-2000 was still an oasis of stability in the fractured world. Not because of 2000, because of what was hidden beneath. He didn't actually know what that was. He guessed he was about to find out. To find out, he didn't really care that much about knowing. Clef descended through the tower. There had been one more name on the list. A short suspension bridge led to the island at the center of the small sea. The island floated in midair above the sea, crowned by a massive, gleaming flower. Its half-closed petals were latticed woven of rainbow cores of light. The island itself was a massive dark earth, with roots protruding here and there, as if the entire thing, were plucked from a glistening, from a giant flower pot, and placed gently in the middle of the empty air. The petals and roots were covered by glimmering designs, brought and shifted in the petal. Petals and roots. Golden red on the roots. Words, in a script Clef didn't recognize. The scent of fresh, wet earth radiated through the place. Omnipresent spring. Standing on the railings, looking out at the sea, was 0512. No. Not 0512. Not after all this. He'd call him by his name, or at least the name the man had once come to embrace. Troy Lament. As Cleft walked closer, the man didn't turn. His eyes remained locked on the hovering island, at the intricate weavings of roots and earth. It's something, eh? Lament said. You aren't trying to fix 2000, Clef said. You're making whatever this is. The man chuckled. Making it? Nah. This thing is older than our universe. Older than the universe before our universe. Older than the universe before our universe before our universe. You get the idea? Clef shrugged. What the hell is it? call it the Bloom, Lament said. Our final backup plan. Best kept secret and all that. Only this one is real. The workers are all mind wiped as soon as they leave. No one knows about it except Overwatch. In this timeline, at least. Lament pointed up at the dangling ropes. Figured those out yet? Some sort of script or code, Cliff said. User manual? Damn, good guess. But not quite. They're the activation requirements. Cliff frowned. What requirements? Lament finally turned, meeting Cliff's eye. He pointed at the folder in Cliff's hands. Cliff paused, looking down at it. Back up, his brow creased deeply. You gotta be kidding me. Nope. Killing all those people. That was the activation requirement for this thing? Cliff said. What the hell kind of failsafe requires serial murder? Try not to think of it like that, Lament said. If it helps, think of it as removing the dangerous elements that would prevent activation. That's the way the old 12 explained it to me. In other words, total bullshit. That's what I said. The old 12 just laughed at me. Lament looked at the flower. Each of these roots and petals had a coded list of events that have to happen and people who have to die before the bloom. Just let us use it. Before the bloom will let us use it. Requirements such as seem to differ in every timeline. Not always death, but always something. Lemon shrugged. If it makes you feel better, we left the Foundation members for last. Could have fucked things up, but we were hoping to find another way. Any other way. Cliff played the slow game. You want to make sure, at least, or soothe what was left of his conscience in some small way. Way to do what? Lament sighed. Don't ask questions you already know the answers to. You've noticed, Cleft. Containment breaches, the anomalies, conflict, wars, global destruction on a continental scale. All those reeds you killed? Lament gave him a pointed look. Don't tell me you didn't notice. Notice what? Come on. How many greens usually pop up through history? A saint here, a sorcerer there. Jesus, Bluff said. I was there. That isn't funny. It was a little funny. Greens don't mean reality is frayed. Correlation isn't causation. I don't need to tell you this, but reality is frayed. Regardless, Lament said. Has been for a long time. Most of this we had nothing to do with. When the last pieces started to untangle, we ignored it. But once it regressed, Overwatch actively started recruiting you for the initiative. Now, the tapestry unravels. The stars are going out. Something else is coming in. ZK class end of reality scenario, Clef said. He was tired. So damn tired. I thought that was just theoretical. Women chuckled. No, you did it. That's what's happening, Cliff said. How? Doesn't matter. I guess you could say it doesn't, Cliff said. And really, it doesn't. So this boom will fix it? Nope, Lemon smiled. As if to apologize. Too late for that, though. Clef Jew. We can't fix reality. We can't stop what's coming. Not anymore. Not in this timeline. At least, what's coming is already here. You saw it, right? On the horizon. The wolf at the door. Someone used to call it the Black Moon come howling. I've been hearing You've been hearing it, haven't you? I have. I've been hearing it for a long time. Clef rolls his eyes. I get the point. The melodramatic asshole. The man laughed, and it sounded genuinely amused, for a moment before tapering off into a long silence. We're tapping out, the man said. Resetting reality. Rolling back the timeline. Like nothing ever happened. How many times? What do you... You know goddamn well what I mean, Clef said. How many times have we done this before? How many timelines? Lemon breathed deeply. We don't know. Not even our archivist knows. We've only deciphered traces from a few timelines back. Beyond that, I know we weren't the first to use it. Lemon stuck his hands in his pockets. Speaking of which, you know this was happening already, right? Partial reality protection's a bitch, I guess. Maybe you'll receive memories from this time at some point in your next incarnation. Fuck you, Troy. Plus, Lament barked a laugh. Glenn shook his head. No, seriously. Fuck you. I just murdered everyone I knew and wanted. Well, the world ends around me. For all I know, this is all you really know. For the 10,000th fucking time, I should be mad. I should be disappointed, but no, I'm done. I'm so fucking done. I thought you were better than this. You're one of us. You knew what it's like. Being in the room with the monsters, knowing maybe there's no way out. And now, in the end, I find out you're marching in lockstep with the other O5s. The other O5s for a way out. And now, for I assume, the greater good. Just another puppet master tugging on the fucking strings. I never trusted anyone. I trusted you. And what for? The man just stood there and took it. He looked like he had been expecting it, and the fact that he knew he was a disappointment took more of the wind out of Clef's sails. You're supposed to fix all of this, Troy. Clef felt a new jagged edge to that old familiar bitterness. You were supposed to fix it. I'm sorry, man, Lament said. For what's worth, I tried. Clef looked past Lament at the yelling flower. What if I refuse? Clef asked. What if I blow up this flower and I don't reboot the world? Lament shrugged. The world just ends. What do you think? Look, I know it's shit, but this is the curtain call, Clef. If there's a way out, believe me, I'd be taking it. But now, just one thing left to do. And what's that? Last name on the list, Lament said. He looked at the boom again. His eyes hardened for a brief moment, and then he tugged the gun out of his shoulder holster and proffered it to Clef. I prefer not the face, if you don't mind. Clef took the gun from Lament, checked the chamber to make sure the shell was loaded. Lament looked back at him, quietly waiting. Clef rested the muzzle of the gun on Lament's chest. If I were one kind of bastard, I'd shoot you in the balls. If I were another kind of bastard, I'd shoot you in the face. Right now, I'm just tired. Go to hell. Lament's laugh started dry, then ended wet, punctuated only by a soft, collapsing thud. Clef walked up to the blue, reading the final instructions of the list. No more names, just a flower at the end of the world. There was a white note card laying in the dirt of as Cleft approached. Cleft picked up the card. The message was in the woman's handwriting. Hi, Cleft. I lied. One more name on the list. Sorry. Footstep behind. Cleft turned. The card exploded into foam in his hands, freezing him in place. Hard and cold things wound around his arms and legs. He looked down. Silver canes. Supernaturally animated. A woman stood in front of him. She held a stone sidearm in one hand. Cleft recognized it as a the prototype that he hadn't realized was finished. On the other hand, she held a 13-inch chef's knife. Cleft felt his guts twist. God damn it. God damn it. I should have known. Glared at the woman. You weren't on the list. Sloppier then, she said. Hello, Cleft. My name is Sophia Light. You killed my ex-boyfriend. Prepare to die. Cleft pulled on the silver chains. Appreciate the reference, but we both know what that knife does. Isn't that overkill? For you? Light chuckled. Not really. Cleft grinned. God, it's perfect. The last girl always kills the monster at the end. That she does. Most of the time, Cleft added. Furnace, proud. Most of the time. Cleft paused a moment. His mind ran through countermeasures, through escape opportunities, through second chances, then discarded them, one after the other. He opened his mouth to say something, search for what it was. Tell them I'm sorry. Was as meaningless as ask them to forgive me. After all, most men wouldn't be born at the point in time the universe would reset itself. In the end, he decided to be self-serving. Recruit me slower next time. Don't let me get near everyone if I have to do this again. Light nodded. I understand. The once and future 052 walked into the flower at the end of the world. With one last look back, turned off the lights of the universe and shut the door. And then the sun went out. And that's the end of that. There was a bit of killer in my throat. But that's where I'm going to be ending today's stream. I'm just did a bit of Thor Fortress and then reading one of the stories for today. To get back to the swing of things. Thank you everyone for coming by and giving my channel a chance. I hope you all have a good week and goodbye.